safer 4th, fewer accidents on Missouri highways this 4th of July. KOMU8 News First at 5 starts right now.
Live from Studio 8A, coverage you can count on in high definition. This is KOMU8 News First at 5.
We are learning more today about the dock at the Lake of the Ozarks, where 2 Ashland children died from electrocution yesterday. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jim Reed.
And I'm Sarah Hill. Thanks for joining us. An autopsy is on for today, and authorities are continuing to interview witnesses. KOMU8's Matt Noonan joins us now. And Matt, they are discovering new information all the time with this investigation.
Sarah, Jim, the State Highway Patrol confirms improper wiring is what led to the accident that electrocuted the 2 children. Authorities say the dock where the children were swimming was not ground fault protected. And one local fire marshal says that kind of hazard is not uncommon at the lake.
A lot of common people don't realize that a dock is not the same as a house, and electricity does not flow the same way. It has to be single-stranded wire. Everything has to be in conduit. Everything has to be suited for wet locations.
A boat lift and water slide pump were present at the dock, and authorities say either could have supplied the electricity that led to the accident.
Well, that incident at the lake may have dock owners questioning the safety of their own docks. KOMU8's Molly Balkenbush is live at the Lake of the Ozarks to explain the rules on docks and how to check them.
I'm standing on one dock at the lake that is ground fault protected. As you can see behind me, this is Ameren, Missouri's dock. But what does that really mean? Today I talked to the Division Chief Fire Marshal of Lake Ozark, and he used the example of an outlet in your home. An example of this could be if there's a short circuit in one of those outlets, like one that could shock you. The ground protection will send that electricity back to the ground rather than back to you. So how do you know if your dock has these protections? Experts say you have to get an inspection. Here's a copy of a dock inspection from the Ameren, Missouri website. Now, the law in some areas requires inspections of new docks or ones that are getting remodeling. However, in some areas, there's no requirements of any kind of inspection. Here at the lake, once a person puts a dock in, they have a year and a half to get it inspected. If they don't follow through, well, the punishment is Ameren will remove that dock. That address will never be able to have a dock at that location again. So failure to get your dock inspected can mean not only putting people at risk, but it can also mean you might have a harder time selling your home in the future. For more information on how to keep your dock safe, visit our website at KOMU.com. Reporting live from Lake of the Ozarks, Molly Balkenbush, KOMU8 News.
And weather-wise, it's been another searing day out there in mid-Missouri. In fact, if you're keeping track, this is day number 9 of temperatures 100 or above. It looks like we'll make it to day number 11 before we finally break the streak. At least that's the way it looks now. It's a clear scan of live Doppler 8 first alert radar. Nothing whatever to show you out there. Temperature-wise, through the evening hours, we'll still be hanging around 100 at 7 o'clock. And even at 9 o'clock tonight, we'll be down to about 94 degrees. You get the idea. Things are slow to cool off. We'll have a morning time low temperature, probably in the mid to upper 70s. More on the forecast with a bit of an optimistic view of the extended outlook coming up in a few minutes on KOMU8 News, first at 5.
Thank you very much. The Columbia Fire Department responded to a grass fire near an east side apartment.
Hey, Dan, how are you, buddy?
Good, how are you? When firefighters arrived on the scene,
Mucho awesome-o, thank you.
Been a busy day. Away from the building,
around here. Dude, it's freaking going nuts, man. All good now.
But could not
and now we've got 2 Craigs, so now we're in double trouble.
Columbia Fire Department responded this morning to a structure fire at his restaurant. The preliminary damage estimate puts it at about $10,000. The fire was due to a malfunction in the gas water heater. The crews were able
I'm in Maryland right now.
No one.
Okay. Columbia police
Near
Baltimore last night
I'm in Fairmont, which is where Camp David is located. That's the only thing that's here.
Witnesses told officers they saw Snell,
the little town in northern Frederick County,
and then placed the gun into a white SUV. According to the public information officer, Letitia Strower, officers found Snell.
Hey guys, I've got a bell out. I've got a Hangout extension that I've got to test out. So I will see you guys later. Take care.
All right. A man died after a standoff last night in Marys County that involved an off-duty Missouri Highway Patrol trooper. The Marys County Sheriff's Office responded to the report of a female trooper was being held at gunpoint by an ex-boyfriend.
I'm fine, thank you. Sorry, I was muted.
Get out of the house and get away when a single shot was fired. Deputies found the ex-boyfriend with what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. An autopsy is scheduled today. There is no foul play suspected in this case.
Hey, Sarah.
Missouri State Highway Patrol told us today the state has fewer fatal accidents this 4th of July holiday.
Need to get Jim to say hello to the Hangout.
The department says that drop is most likely due to the 4th falling on a Wednesday rather than the weekend. Since Independence Day occurred over the weekend last year, the holiday counting period was more than 3 days long. But this year, the count of fatalities was closer to 6 hour period. However, that doesn't mean there's less work for the Columbia Police Department as far as enforcing safety for the holiday.
We actually began our enforcement last weekend, the week before the 4th, and continuing it through this weekend. And that involves extra officers out doing hazardous canoe violation enforcement, as well as extra officers out doing driving while intoxicated enforcement.
Perkins says there will be at least one more checkpoint scheduled before the end of the weekend within Columbia's city limits.
As many Missourians were celebrating the 4th of July yesterday, the Jefferson City and Columbia Police and Fire Departments were busy dealing with fireworks-related issues. Both police departments responded to many complaints, more than 250 combined.
Wasn't me.
145 in Columbia, 107 in Jefferson City. The Capital City Fire Department also dealt with 7 natural brush fires. Firemen say most likely caused by fireworks. The Columbia Fire Department also responded to several grass fires. However, it could not be determined if fireworks caused the flames.
The state said today it's expecting to save about $44 million over the next year through refinancing some outstanding debts at lower rates. 2 boards approved the refinancing earlier this week. The Board of Public Buildings is looking for refunds totaling more than $20 million, and the Board of Fund Commissioners expects more than $23 million back. Governor Jay Nixon issued this statement about the refinancing. With these savings, we are again seeing the benefits of Missouri and the highest marks from the top credit rating agencies. The lower interest rate translates into millions of dollars saved for taxpayers.
President Obama hits the campaign trail in 2 big cleanup efforts in the Midwest. KOMU8's Marion McGuire has those stories and more in your First Nation report.
President Obama began a 2-day campaign bus tour by presenting himself as a
Sarah, did you see the picture of
the tour will cross northern Ohio
Anderson girl who was executed? I sent it to you in a Facebook message.
The president
I know it's her because
saved by his auto industry rescue plane. By contrast, Obama alleged Mitt Romney is more focused
and then her friends from Ashland, so I'm fairly confident that was the girl who was executed.
One person is dead after a construction
crane Alexandra, we know that, Alexandra Anderson.
This massive crane was working on the Causeway overpass in Oshkosh when it went over 9 this morning. A Department of Transportation spokesman says the crane was lifting a heavy metal beam at the US 41 work site when it went over. Crews are working today to clean up quite a mess in northern Illinois. This Union Pacific coal train flipped over yesterday between the North Chicago suburbs of Northbrook and Glenview. The bridge gave way, sending 31 cars on the 138-car train into a deep ditch. No one was injured, but it will take crews a while to untangle the mess. And that's your first look at national news.
WikiLeaks announced today it has begun releasing more than 2 million emails from the Syrian government. The group said the emails will not only embarrass the Syrian government, but will also shame its opponents. WikiLeaks spokesperson says it had not verified all of the emails, but is confident the majority of the files were genuine. A Turkish website says a general in Syria's elite Republican Guard has defected. The website cited a high-level security source. It's the first reported defection of a high-ranking military supporter of President Bashar al-Assad since the beginning of the uprising. The bodies of 2 Turkish pilots have been recovered from deep in the ocean nearly 2 weeks after they were shot down by Syria. Bodies were recovered with the help of American ocean explorer Robert Ballard.
And if you look at her wall, Sarah, because you can click on her wall, she posted something on Trent and Nichols' timeline. If you mouse over that, you can see that Trent's from Ashland, Missouri.
One that can be very effective, especially for the elderly. Plus, not eating breakfast causes you to crave certain foods. Find out which ones in our health report.
And coming up, we've got an extended forecast that indicates that there's maybe a little relief in sight. We'll take a look in a few minutes on KOMU 8 News First at 5.
And you were looking high atop the Sedalia area where the time is 5:09. Right now, behind the scenes of this newscast, we're talking a little bit about the tragic story about those Ashland siblings. You can join our conversation. Just go to the top of KOMU.com, click on the streaming newscast page, follow the directions on how to join our Google Plus Hangout. Okay, Dan, so you were saying this is the girl's Facebook profile?
I think so, because if you look at and mouse over her friend's name on the wall link, Trent Nichols, Trent's from Ashland, so I'm fairly confident that's her, although I'm sure I've seen her down there. I couldn't say that for sure, but I would say that was her.
Okay. Well, just to educate you guys.
Maybe I'll look at Trent's.
Right. To let you guys know, by the way, we're the NBC affiliate in Columbia, Missouri, and we do our newscast with a live Google Plus Hangout. There was a recent case where a 13-year-old and an 8-year-old in our community were killed due to an electrocution at a dock. And so I'm looking at that is Jay Riddle. Are you on a dock right now? No, you are not. You were showing us the skyline. And where is that, Jay? You're on a patio on the 6th floor in Atlanta. Wow, that is a beautiful view. But I'm curious to hear about do you all have dock regulations in your areas as far as wiring? For instance, this dock was cited as having faulty wiring. It was saying that the docks weren't grounded. Some people are just, stringing extension cords out to their dock, and this 13 or 8-year-old, they were swimming in the water near the dock, and they were electrocuted. Yeah, so I'm curious, and there was another instance in Tennessee. Are you all aware of any dock regulations in your communities?
There is in Chickamauga Dam area in Chattanooga, where my wife's my father-in-law has a boat. I mean, it's very strict over there in the lake and on the river there.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, we have some docks down in North Carolina, and all the electric has to be in conduit, inside metal conduit.
And good afternoon to you. There's a look at Highway 63, just a little bit south of Columbia there. We see some of those high filtering clouds that do exist, but they're few and far between on this another hot day in central Missouri. Keeping track. Day number 9 with temperatures at 100 or above. And it's a clear scan of live Doppler 8 first alert radar. Nothing doing out there. And we'll take a look at some temperatures across the region. Understandably frustrating as we enter another day of brutal temperatures. 101 at Columbia, 104 at Jefferson City and the lake. We topped out earlier this afternoon at 104 degrees. And again, that makes day number 9. I think we're going to go to number 11 before we get a break in the action, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. Here's what it feels like when you step outdoors. The heat index really doesn't reflect too much because we don't have a lot of moisture in the air.
It's like there's some pictures of all the gang of apps. All of
it's negligible the impact that the heat index is showing anything at all. Our next weather maker is certainly not this one. This is our current map that shows that
his is public, unlike Alexandra's.
That jet stream that'll be our next weather maker as it dips to the south, probably late Sunday.
His link too.
That's going to allow that to sort of kick that blocking high pressure at the upper levels out of here in the weather, and it's going to be a change for the good. But it's going to be on Monday, not tomorrow, and not Saturday. Let's have a look at the forecast for you. First thing in the morning, we're going to be looking at upper 70s to the low 80s for a low temperature. Then as the day wears on, we'll watch those temperatures climb up, and you guessed it again tomorrow at about 104 degrees here in mid-Missouri with thankfully lower amounts of humidity. Even with a light wind, we're not getting that much moisture pulling up into the area. Here's a look at my live Doppler 8 first alert forecast. Clear, continued warm
it's
tonight.
90 where you are,
75 might be a bit optimistic. We're going to go with 78, maybe.
Yeah, it's in the 90s right now. Yeah, it's humid. Luckily, I face east towards Midtown. You're looking at Midtown right now. Over here to the right of me is downtown Atlanta. And so I'm in the shade. About 1 o'clock, the sun goes behind my condo to the west, where some of our neighbors back there, they picked up temperatures upwards of 119 degrees on their windows.
Will be in the upper 90s.
An ashtray exploded this weekend. A glass ashtray on my patio exploded.
Here's where the big change comes in.
That's
crazy.
Thursday
and
beyond. that weather.
Pretty
Did you say you were in Savannah?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm in West Midtown.
Atlanta.
Here's a look at the rest of that live doppler. First alert,
looking over
not too bad,
some areas
average high this
of
time of the
downtown
year is about
Midtown.
88 degrees.
And
We'll
then
be fairly
Buckhead,
close to that.
North Atlanta is over here in the hills, Stone Mountain.
The folks without air conditioning still need your help. That's why we'd like you to join the KOMU8 fan club. And
so was it like a ceramic ashtray or what kind of
It was like a classic diner glass ashtray cut in an angle that the sun magnified it, and it magnified itself.
Yeah, in fact, in our Hangout right now, we have somebody who's telling a story about how it was so hot that his glass ashtray exploded on the outside of his deck. So certainly hot out there. That just goes to show you. Summertime leaves kids unsupervised.
There you go.
More than any other time, obviously. They're at school.
Right. A new study says that idle time leads to bad choices.
Jay, we had someone the other day. He was baking cookies in his car.
Making an omelet on his engine?
Yeah. He could have done it.
Yeah, so that's fascinating. So, Jay, for people just joining us, by the way, we're the NBC affiliate in Columbia, Missouri, and this is Jay Riddle, and he is showing us out his back patio. So tell people what you're seeing, Jay.
Yeah, so essentially I'm in West Midtown and 14th Street, which is an old industrial area that used to be called White Provision. It was a meat packing district, and a lot of these areas in the last 4 years have been reconstructed by development companies, especially one that's a German company in here that's rebuilding City Hall East, which is a really rundown area of old manufacturing. And so now it's turned into a high-end retail and condo space the last couple of years. And so they're doing this all over Atlanta. So I'm looking out from the West Midtown area. That's looking actually in Midtown, Atlanta, right now near 10th Street and Piedmont Park. And then if we look out here, you'll see downtown. And we had a little fireworks show live stream last night on YouTube. It was a lot of fun.
So how many miles is downtown from where you are there?
It's a mile and a half from CNN Center and the Centennial Olympic Park, about 6 miles from Buckhead, and about 20 miles from Stone Mountain.
Wow, that would be perfect for a Segway striking distance.
Yeah, we had about 6 fireworks shows last night that I was able to get 2 cameras out here and broadcast the majority of them, so it was a lot of fun.
That's incredible. Great. Jay, so did you do that via Hangout, or did you do that via
We did it via Hangouts on air. Yep. I just go ahead and lend my camera and my condo to the Hangout show since they were so helpful to me during the wedding. And I can go about my party and they can go ahead and host and do their thing while we watch the fireworks.
So how interesting is that? That you can even watch fireworks as far as a group conversation. That's really.
It was really cool. I've been trying out this sort of Big Brother-esque type thing. I bought a couple HD cameras, so I had one inside, actually pointing down into my kitchen area. Which I'll show you in here, but I have one down pointing in the kitchen, so I joined as another account.
Elderly
and then the other camera was outside, actually watching.
A new Swiss study looked at 11 clinical
fireworks,
trials
so they could see the party that I was having for all my friends inside.
More than 30,000 adults over the age of 65 took part. Researchers found those taking more than 800 units of vitamin D lowered their risk of hip fracture by a third. With no school to worry about, summertime may be prime time for teenagers to start experimenting with smoking and drinking. The U.S. Substance Abuse and Mental Health Report finds June and July.
Is this really news?
Every year for teenagers to try alcohol, cigarettes, and
the dry weather contributed to a couple of crashes at our local
motorcycle breakfast race. Haven't eaten for several hours.
This guy took out part of the chain link fence, about 20 feet of the chain link fence. That's what's wrapped around his leg there.
Half had been fasting for 18
and
hours.
It hit it about 90 miles an hour, and I mean he went every which way. And about 5 minutes later, he got up and down his leg.
Seriously, he got up and walked, like no joke, like walked away. Like,
yeah, that's see the fence behind that pipe going across the top. That's that pipe. The fence keeps going, and then he ripped out about 20 feet of the fence to his right.
Tens of thousands still sweltering without power. Also, high schools keeping young people clean and sober. And an 8th grader takes on 17 magazines and wins on NBC Nightly News.
So this year I've been keeping it filled up with cold water, and they love soaking in it.
They love soaking in it?
Yeah, they climb in there and they soak in the cold water to stay cool.
Wow. Hey, Craig, that's Wow, that's a good idea. I didn't think about that. Craig, where was that motorcycle crash?
This was the Barbara Fritchie Classic in Frederick County, Maryland. It's the oldest running dirt track race in the country. It's been going on for like almost 100 years. And it was really dry conditions. They had the water truck going around and trying to keep it wet, but they really couldn't. And so it was pretty dangerous conditions. And they had a couple of crashes. And this guy took out 20 feet of the chain link fence. That's the fence wrapped around his leg there. He just literally went flying, and 5 minutes later he got up and walked away.
Wow, I am glad it had a happy ending, because that doesn't look like it would have a happy ending.
No, I thought he was a goner. I didn't think there was any way he could survive. The way his body just went every which way. He didn't even break a bone.
Wow. So how neat is this? During the broadcast, we are hearing about Craig Shipp's motorcycle accident. We are seeing out the window of Jay Riddle in Atlanta. We're hearing Dan Ryle report a little bit about this Ashland person who went away. We're waving to hi, Mrs. Penn. Can we see Mrs. Penn again?
That's Anna.
Hi. Hi, Anna. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
We're standing with Laurent and friends. Hi, Mike. Just joined us from the UK, and Blair Warner. Blair, what's going on in your world? We haven't heard very much from you.
It's kind of boring out here right now. Yesterday, 4th of July, was great. Fireworks all over the place, and but today I have not heard or seen anything exciting.
Wow,
that's
a good
sometimes.
Thing.
Now, Sarah, I got to share one more picture with you.
Please do.
This young lady came in 3rd place in the race. 2 years ago, she won the race, and he asked her about the crash and the danger and all that, and she basically said, well, I'm just out here to race, and I don't really think about that. And fortunately, they're okay. I mean, talk about tough as nails. These riders are just unbelievable. And she's keeping up with all the best.
2 horses seized from a Callaway County farm suspected of neglect found a new home today. The Callaway County Veterinary Clinic rescued 3 horses, all separate.
She even has a camera on her motorcycle.
The clinic says the owner claims she couldn't afford food or care for the animals, but cooperated with the Humane Society.
We just dewormed our horses today.
They are headed for local farms. The 3rd is still recovering. The clinic says
those are
especially important to make sure animals have what they need in this high heat.
No, I don't understand any period.
To make sure that you guys have lots of fresh, cooled water out. Make sure that there's salt blocks out in the pasture and the stalls that allows them to keep drinking water.
I've been doing that. I've been putting out mineral and salt blocks. The other thing you can add, Sarah, is there's something called Raybon blocks, because a lot horses get a lot of flies this time of year. And
asked you what kind of trouble people should
what do they do with the salt blocks, Dad?
Salt blocks provide nutrients and minerals. The mineral blocks have lots of important minerals they need too.
They like chew on them, do they?
Salt helps. They chew, yeah. I also feed loose salt too, Mike, and you can do either. And they just eat up the mineral blocks, provide minerals, and there's something called Raybon blocks, which they eat that, and it helps keep the flies off them. It can be easier than spraying the flies, especially if they're not super tame horses. But it's a good idea. But really, in hot weather too, you should mineral and salt your animals constantly. Keep it out there. Like if I drive my truck out into the field and they haven't had salt and mineral, they'll lick my truck because they're looking for that rust and anything that's on it.
Gotcha.
I did not know that. So that is really interesting. That's something that we actually should have included in our story. That we did about that. He's talking about how when he feeds his animals that he gives them the salt and mineral.
Salt block.
Yeah, salt block. But that would have been great to include in the story. Yet another reason why we need to take more Hangouts on TV, right?
Tell Jim that there's salt blocks on the golf course apparently on every tee.
There's salt blocks on the golf course, they say as well. If you're wondering.
Tell him he should give his macaw some salt and mineral too.
They say that you should give your macaw some salt salt block. Yeah.
Hey, Mike, I can probably help out later this week.
Sarah,
well,
I saw
you come out of
do time with a bag of dog food. So he knows all about Ursulines.
What we need to do is get about 4 or 5 people together and with Pro Studio and just go through like a fake script and try and work the social element out, because there's a couple of buttons. It's just using it and using it and using it. I did a video today which is not going public, Sarah, at all.
With your hats?
Yes, that one's not going public. That's a link only, that one is, so don't share it.
I gotcha. Hi, Dr. Levin. Good to see you. Oh, Atlanta fire engines. Jay, what's that going on?
You said my name and the sirens went off. Oh.
Yep, local fire.
You know, Sarah, where I live, the past week or so, I've been hearing a lot of sirens from the highway. A lot of sirens.
Dave, we actually did a story about the heat wave, how it's creating sort of a crime wave, as you will. So they looked at some of the statistics for reports, and they found a direct correlation between the rise in temperature and the rise in some of those crimes, which is interesting. Are you guys finding that in your areas too?
That seems to be.
You know, I haven't looked at the. We have some zone. The Atlanta Police offers us actual reporting analytics on their website for various zones that they publish over XML files. I don't know where it goes, but there's several websites you can go to, and I haven't seen their stats updated recently, so I don't know how to catch that except for every maybe a few weeks.
Interesting. And Jay, by the way, is the one who got married in a Hangout.
Yeah. So
Jay, introduce yourself. Tell us briefly about that for those people who haven't heard your story.
Yeah, so I was my now wife Jenny and I were lucky enough to do a destination wedding up in New York, and we decided to keep it inexpensive relatively. So we went to City Hall and were able to go on hang out on air and broadcast that live over YouTube. And actually, it worked out not to the benefit of obviously the public, but also a couple of my sisters who were unable to attend. One of them is able to watch from work as we got married, and then also do the champagne toast at a park nearby, and then Circle Line cruise later in the day that we broadcast 2 hours of around Manhattan Island.
Molly, but we want to say a little bit about that.
Incident.
So was there adjusted the piece on the Hangout too and all that?
Encouraging people to go out and get your dock inspected.
Sorry?
Apparently there was
so when you got married on the Hangout, there was a pastor or someone present on the Hangout?
Yeah, so the city clerk's office back in 2009 in New York City, they revamped it. They had a marketing company come in and actually revamp and market it almost like Vegas. You go in, we went a month beforehand. It was all computerized, touchscreen, got our certificate, stood in line, called our number, paid, and the same thing for the wedding. We got there very early when the doors first opened, and we were like number 3rd or 4th couple to go in one of the 2 rooms that are available, and they had a great justice of the peace that for all of 5 minutes that he spoke, it felt like we were in there for a half an hour, and we were all his, so it was really good.
Food and dancing as well.
$35.
Balloon rides. Talk about a hot place to be at a hot
Did you ask the question, Jay, if it's actually legal, which I presume it isn't anywhere, to get married on a video call? Has anybody ever been married but not in person?
I've not seen. I thought I've seen people get married over.
Yeah, you absolutely can.
Can you really?
It's up to the minister.
It's also up to which state you register in. So I don't believe both people have to be present at the time, as long as eventually both sign the wedding certificate. My sister actually got married so hastily, and it was kind of a shambles that. Not only did the father of the bride not get to give a speech, but then it wasn't until the next day that they signed their wedding certificate. They just completely forgot.
Have they got to be in the same country then? I'm not getting married. I don't want to get married to anybody. If anybody's watching, but in terms of perhaps I do. Who knows? But I'm saying that certainly if say one person was on U.S. soil and someone else was in another country, that they could.
Hi, Jim.
Yeah, I'm sure the legality of it there is going to be in question. Then, of course, you could say you're married, you could get married, record it, maybe bring it into the interview with immigration with you when you have a visa. I don't know. I have no idea. Be interesting to research that.
Interesting question, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be interesting. I think it's fascinating. Just another way that this space is being used. So how cool is that? Does everybody know each other, by the way? If I can have you guys introduce yourself, I just want to make sure that everybody is connected. Craig, if we can start with you real quick.
Yep, I'm Craig, and you can see my lower third. That's where you can find out about me.
Twitter.
Okay.
Twitter. All right. I'm Dan Weil. I'm from Columbia. Grew up in St. Louis, but I live here in Columbia now. It's nice to meet you all.
Gary?
I am Gary from Riverside, California, and I'll put up my lower third in just a second.
Okay. Jay?
Yes, my name is Jay Riddle, and I'm an IT consultant on the road typically, but right now I'm at home in Atlanta, coming to you live from Midtown.
Loren?
My name is Lawrence, and I'm currently in Paris and France.
Okay. Marcus?
I'm Marcus Penn. I reside in Jefferson City, Missouri, work in Columbia, Missouri, and I am the brand manager of UServe and account manager for Veterans United Home Loans.
Mike?
Mike Downs. I'm from England, and I've been in Hangouts for a very long time, and I think I know pretty much everybody here apart from Jay, which I've just met. Hi, Jay.
Okay. So, again, we're the NBC affiliate. My name is Sarah Hill in Columbia, Missouri, and we're experimenting with doing our live broadcast with a live cyber couch, if you will. It's kind of a news coffee shop. People come and go as they please, but instead of reading the newspaper, they watch the newscast and they chat about it. So we're excited about using this space. It's sort of a free satellite truck in the middle of a crowdsourcing tool that we're able to put people on the air. And how fascinating is it during the course of this newscast, we learn about a Hangout wedding. We learned a little bit about the meat district in Atlanta, about a motorcycle accident. I mean, all kinds of different news that we learned just during the course of this broadcast. So that's, yeah, absolutely. Horse salt as well.
Horse salt, mineral.
For animals. It's like having an omniscient narrator in your ear when you're broadcasting, and it's really actually very fascinating. Max Mincer just joined us. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell people what you do and where you're from? You're muted, Max. If you could unmute your mic. Max, go ahead.
I try to do that for better quality of the hangout. Yeah, I've been with you guys for some time. Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, go ahead, Max. Sorry.
Yeah, I was off for a couple of weeks, just had to catch up with a lot of stuff. But I'm here in Washington, and I'm doing internet consulting with small businesses locally and nationally. So.
Washington State or Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, Washington State.
Okay.
Seattle area.
Okay. So this is a Hangout on air. Is there anything that you guys want to report, news in your area, or anything that you would like to bring up, either about projects you're working on or anything like that? I'd love to hear about the projects that you're working on.
I'd be interested to hear about the what's going on with internet consulting with small businesses in this economy. Do you find that they're trying to take advantage of focusing their marketing dollars and do that, or are they cutting back on those things?
Anybody want to answer that?
Well, I can answer it in that I did share Google made a small business website video recently that I had a bit of reaction on. I just said, look, I think this is pretty much free. I think people could do it. And then there was this whole debate, that started off after whether that's going to be hurting, people who build websites or not, or why Google have done it. And it was one of those things where I subscribed to the video, came and I shared it. I don't know if you've seen it. I will get the link.
Yeah, get the link and put that in the chat if you could.
I use a lot of Google Sites for clients because they're free and they're pretty easy to manage and all that. I think they're a great tool. But I put this photo up. I just wanted to show you it wasn't just the guys that were racing around that dirt track. She came in third in the race, and she was right behind the two guys that crashed and went around them.
Wow, that's a great picture too. What's her name? Do you know?
The two guys that crashed. Her name is there at the bottom. Shayna Texter.
Shayna Texter.
Yeah, and the two guys that crashed, by the way, won first and second. They crashed after they went through the checkered flag, so they were battling to win the race, literally handlebar to handlebar, and it was a photo finish. And they went around the next turn, and because right after the checkered flag, that's when the nasty turn is up there, and then that's when they crashed.
No, I saw an interesting, it was either a documentary or news story about the Isle of Wight over in England, where it's still the only place that's basically illegal to have a no speed limit. They have a track that people pay big money for, and about 50 people die a year on it. It's very controversial.
You mean the Isle of Man?
Yes, the Isle of Man. Thank you. Thank you.
Isle of Man, yeah, the minks. Yeah, it's, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't had anybody die in this race for a long, long time, but there's always some crashes here and there, almost every time, just because they're pushing so hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess they know how to let them down.
Yeah, Dan?
I kind of think it was interesting what you were saying about the heat, because we went to the Jefferson City Festival on the 4th, and I went to get my son some drinks and stuff. And while I was down on, I think, on one of the streets there, Madison Street, a woman with her 4-year-old toddler stopped right at the alleyway and was telling these people they couldn't go to the alleyway. She was apparently drunk, but the woman in the car got mad and drove right around the woman with her toddler there, and she hung on to the door. And they started to get in this big fight, and all the citizens had to break it up because the police.
No, yeah, I think
the heat
was.
The heat wave. I talked to a police officer. The heat was really getting people to.
Yeah, I would imagine that you've got a little lag on your line, so but I would imagine that, we said heat contributes to hot heads, I think is the way that the police department phrased it. So, yeah. I think you're right on there. Mike, what map are you showing? What is that?
I'm showing the United Kingdom here, which is on the right-hand side, Ireland on the left, and right in the middle there is a piece of dirt there, which is the Isle of Man, where they have the Isle of Man TT that gets extremely dangerous in there. And the sadness, and I'll tell you the sadness, is that see the Isle of Man there in the middle of nowhere? Mm-hmm. If you go over towards Manchester, it's actually over Sheffield way. That is where they have the only newspaper on the island. They are now printing it on the mainland between, I think it's Sheffield. So they have to take their own news, get it printed in Sheffield, and then ferry it back again to feed the newspaper to the locals. And they've shut down the only printing press newspaper on that island. I know, it's sadness, isn't it? That changed a while ago. I heard him post about that.
That must be the ultimate outsource.
I'm surprised they have newspapers, period, still.
Oh, there's a big population there, Craig. There's about 30-odd thousand people live there.
Yeah,
so I might be wrong on that.
Haven't they heard of something called the Internet? Don't they have that?
I think it's a sad day when newspapers stop printing in print. I think they need newspapers.
Do you like? Okay, Dan. So just challenging here. Is it the tangible aspect that you like? Of feeling it in your hands and it being delivered to your door in a paper form? Is that why you like that?
Well, I do two things. I do, after I left working television, I started reading the paper more. And I like, and then if I want to follow up on it, I'll go to the website too. And my wife and I both, we peruse the news on our phone. We get, notifications all the time. A lot of times I don't want the newscast, but I just like to get it from everywhere to verify my sources, and I do like to hold it in my hand and thumb through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's interesting what he said about verify your sources. So do you think sometimes if you get it from a mobile device, do you think it's not verified, or?
Mm-hmm. Actually, I think no, I do, but I think from my phone is for. Because I have like CNN and NBC and everybody doing it at the same time, and so I can see it from all the different angles, and I kind of like that, Mm-hmm. And it's fun because on
if you like
a lot
the
of times
papers,
get it wrong,
If you like the newspapers, you better stop using all those other things because they're what's killing the newspapers. You can't have them both. Yeah. You're going to have one or the other.
Yeah, I personally like reading books in the paper, not on the computer or the iPad or Kindle, for that matter.
Yeah, I've heard people say the paper turning. There's something about holding it in your hands. I can see that.
Do any of your titles, Craig, get printed?
Say again?
do any of your titles that you publish get printed, or are they all web-based?
Well, everything I do is on the internet. Yeah.
No, only asking because I know that talking with Dermot about things and whether there's certain periodicals that come out once every 2 weeks or once a month that is a printed version, that sort of thing.
Yeah, nothing that I do, and most of the local print media in my area has been dying out. Some of it's still hanging in there. We have a local newspaper here in Frederick County that they're losing money, but they still keep publishing. The family has a lot of money because they sold out. They used to own the cable TV business, and then they sold out to Adelphia, and now Comcast owns it. But they sold out for a lot of money, so they've got a pile of cash, and they've been burning through it to keep the paper alive. But I don't know how much longer they're going to do that.
That's one thing I miss about printed media is it's a medical thing, but I'm allergic to printer ink. So I miss sneezing when I read my newspaper.
Yeah. So, doctor, what does it make you? What does it make you do? You break out, or
it makes me crazy? I start sneezing like crazy. Just
any kind of print? Any kind of print?
I haven't done a scientific study. It's mostly newspapers. Didn't seem to happen when I was reading books.
Gary, I thought you were going to say it makes you.
It was only the New York Times, I might say.
Yeah.
The local paper here in Columbia used soy ink several years ago instead of regular newsprint ink.
Yeah, you need to come here, Gary, so that you can read our paper because we printed on soy ink.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I'll have hay fever.
Yeah. So you're literally allergic to
the bits and bites don't make sense.
Yeah. Guys, I am headed back into the newsroom, but don't let me stop the conversation. I'm going to bug out. You guys keep talking. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'm actually headed to New York City tomorrow. Right. I'm headed there to see my daughter. She's doing a little dance performance. She's a 14-year-old, so we're
Sarah,
excited.
be sure to get some Luke's Lobster while you're up there.
Luke's Lobster. Okay.
We go every time. You have to do it. They have one in D.C. now as well. You got to try it out.
I will definitely try it. This has been a great conversation. I appreciate you guys checking in, and I hope to see you again in the boxes. Have a wonderful evening.
Take care, Sarah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.